Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So this is a follow-up video to my earlier video where I talked about the power of manifestation, and I also talked about how we can use a vision board to to, to utilize that power. So this video is going to be more about like what are the possible challenges that you can come across when you try to utilize the technique and how you can work around it. So before I go into the video today, like let me apologize in advance because these are very deep topics, and most of the times I just speak impromptu and intuitively, and so sometimes I'll be like searching for words or ideas to express my thoughts accurately. So please do forgive that. Hopefully I should be able to organize my thoughts better beforehand, but for now please bear with me. Thank you. So a couple of things where I talked about how visualization, how we can use a vision board to use to bring in the power of manifestation. And one of the reasons which I don't know if maybe I mentioned or not, but I think I just want to reiterate in case I already mentioned it, it's okay still, is that we all read books about positive mental attitude, Think and Grow Rich, Power of Positive Thinking. Like a lot of these books we all might have read, or at least I did read, many during like for many times, especially in my earlier years. You want to feel good, or you're going through a crisis, emotional crisis or mental crisis, and you want to feel good about yourself, and these books definitely helped in that way. They motivated you. But one thing I found is it's very hard to suppress, or to kind of switch off our thoughts and feelings, because the events that are around us, the people around us, they give rise to circumstances which make us feel a certain way, and we cannot just turn it off at will. If we could do that, we wouldn't none of us would be needing any help here. So in that sense, just reading books, I thought, was not the most effective way of bringing that, the learning those skills. And that is where the vision board helps. So because the visual media is a very, very powerful tool. It's a very powerful tool which subconsciously we all follow it and we don't realize. Think about going to the movies. Why do people like going to the movies? Because for those 3 hours, when they have that visual media in front of them, they kind of forget everything else. Their mind is focused in the present. You don't think about your past, you don't worry about your future. So that way, it's the visual media kind of it's very powerful in helping your mind focus on what is in front of you. And that's also the reason why a lot of people are addicted to pornography. It's because of that reason, because visual media or visualization has a really powerful and yet subtle way of wiring your brain training your brain to respond in a certain way. So that way, the vision board is a more powerful tool than just reading a positive mental attitude book. So that is one advantage. And also I talked about where the universe is kind of like a vibrational frequency field, and our thoughts, they send out certain frequency or vibrations, and then you kind of those ripples or after effects will definitely come back to you. So another after effect or another correlated aspect of that is that when you send out thoughts at a certain frequency or at a certain or like vibrational frequency, you are also going to attract other people or other events of similar thoughts and frequencies into your sphere of influence, into your sphere of into your world, to put it in the right way. So how that will happen, we don't know. It can be coincidental. It will most likely be coincidental, but believe me, if you understand how this works, it's not just a coincidence. It's because your thoughts and your frequency is kind of communicating with events and people of similar frequencies and with similar visions and similar aims, and things will happen in such a way that they will be brought into your sphere of influence, into your world, into your mental makeup, and then that will give rise to other events. So that is something which we need to understand. It's not a coincidence. So with that out of the way, what are the challenges of using this method, and why do we need to be aware of that? Okay, so the first thing we need to keep in mind is all of us have a core frequency. That means, what I mean to say is, our individual self has a frequency of its own that has been developed through our through our culture, through the way we were brought up, through the environment we were brought up in, through everything, through the experiences we had, both good and bad. Everything shapes us in a certain way, our belief systems, and all of this give rise to a core frequency within our personality, which is very hard for us to ignore or overcome. So when you try to manifest a person or people that you admire or you are in awe of, if the core frequency of that person or persons is different from what is your inner core frequency, there is going to be a conflict. There is going to be an energy conflict. And that is something which I have experienced myself. And it took me a while before I realized what was happening. So, and also another thing is, a lot of times when we choose to manifest a certain characteristic, it's because it's that mechanism is reactionary. So let's say, like, if you take my case, like, when I did not do well in my 12th standard board exams, my ego was hurt because all my friends did better than me. So when that happened, my desire to show, prove to them that I was no less smarter than they were, or to kind of recover, was a reactionary mechanism. So then I put a lot of work into it. But once I realized the dream, right, I went back into my normal personality, because that drive, that fire that I developed that for that few months where I worked really hard was not my natural self. It was a reactionary mechanism that made me work that hard and that got the results for me. But once the results were achieved, then that went away. And I went back into my core frequency, which was to be a little bit laid back. So that's what I mean by saying that we all have our core frequencies. So and that's also what I mean by saying that, our manifestation or our desire to manifest certain characteristic or certain level of success is reactionary for most people. At least for me it was. So that is something which we need to keep in mind as well. So when that conflict, so now speaking about the conflict, so for me, what happened was, like, this was a few months last year. So I was manifesting, and a lot of things were happening to me personally, and a lot of it was positive. But I also slowly noticed that I was getting a lot of inner turmoil. There was a little bit of anger, there was edginess that was coming within me, and I never had that before. And I was thinking, I couldn't figure out why, because on one hand I was kind of getting what I wanted in small ways, but I was not able to shake off this inner edginess or inner restlessness that was building up inside of me. And then once what happened was, like, because of we had to travel somewhere or something, like, I kind of stopped this visualization. I stopped using the vision board for a month or two, and I kind of relaxed, and then the turmoil died away. Then I kind of was at peace a little bit once more with myself, and that's when I kind of put two and two together and figured out what was the reason. And so then I realized, like, that whomever I was trying to manifest, his vibration or that person's vibration was different from my own core vibration. That was what was giving rise to the conflict within me. But then, like, then I also stumbled upon, or I kind of got an idea of having a workaround for that. And now this is what I kind of, the idea that struck me. We all have ups and downs in our lives, right? Just like we have lows, we also have highs, where we are happy with things, where we are happy with ourselves, we are happy with whether our studies are going, or our career is going, our marriage is going, anything. It can be in any phase, but there would definitely have been a phase where we are happy with the way things are going around with us. And that phase, when you look back to that phase, think about how you are feeling. You are feeling good because your core frequency is matching with the frequency of the events that are happening around you. So what I discovered, or what worked for me, was I captured, or I took some pictures of that phase of my life, or those phases of my life, which we all have photos, we all have, like, memoirs, and then I put them in a vision board. So when I was trying to focus on the other people, like whom I really wanted to manifest, whose characteristics I wanted to manifest, I also put equal time to focus on that version of myself where I was at my best, where I was at peace with myself. And this is to ensure that my core frequency is not totally altered because of the characteristics that I'm going to imbibe from my role models. Because I'm also speaking to my vibrational self, which was once at peace with itself, to make sure that the balance that balance is there. And believe me, that worked for me. Like, the turmoil or the restlessness or the edginess that I had before, it never came back to me. because I figured that I was able to balance what I really wanted with what I really was as a person inside of myself. So that is these are the things that I kind of wanted to talk about when I before I could say that my current understanding of the law of manifestation is complete. Obviously, like I'm not a total expert on it. This is more like what I experienced when I tried to implement that power, and the challenges that I hit upon, and how I was able to work around those challenges. So if any of you have have faced similar challenges, and please let me know how you have been able to work around those. And for those of you who are new to this, I hope you have enough understanding of what it is and how to use it to be able to make use of it in your own life. This is by no means I'm by no means an authority on the subject, but I do feel like it's something which I wanted to share it with all of you, and hopefully you will be able to incorporate it in your own lives in your own way. So thank you so much for listening to this video and my previous video. And if you can think of any other subjects, or if any other experiences that you think would be worthwhile to discuss, please to let me know in the comments below. And once again, please do subscribe to my channel and like my videos, so that I know that you all of you are, or at least some of you are benefiting from it. Thank you so much. Bye.